birthday. It's your birthday. Make a wish. I don't have a cake. Annotated cake. Make a wish. It's not every day your YouTube book club turns 1 year old. That's right. 1 year ago, we started our journey here together, and look at us now. Look at us. Who would have thought? Not me. No, not me. Well, actually, I did anticipate this. I'm a very stubborn person. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Neverland Book Club. Today I'd like to take you on a journey, like every week. A journey I had been craving without realizing how famished I was for a good fantasy. But we'll get to that in a minute. As per usual at the start of a new month, I'd like to discuss with you all the many stories I was able to read in the past month, how I felt about them, and which stories have waited patiently for their turn on my long list of TBR. After my little hiatus, I found myself obsessed. Even more so than usual. My appetite for story became so insatiable, I even delved into the world of adult fantasy without hating it. On the contrary, I rather think what I had been reading before just wasn't the right fit. But now, it fits like a glove. Let's get started with a January wrap-up. Here, can you hand me the books, please? I need my props. Prop department, please. Thank you very much. Is this in the shot? First, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. The first book of the Acotar series and the first book I completed in 2022. I mentioned in last month's TBR video that I was already almost done with the first book as of filming that video, and that I had already decided to complete the whole series. I bought it all. Now, after completing the first book, I stand by my statement. I intend to read them all. It took some warming up to. To be honest, it actually did not pique my interest until well into the second half of the first book, but I am quite glad I stuck with it since I am now trying my absolute hardest not to binge the series in its entirety. I'm failing. I'm trying to savor it like a goblet of fine wine. Fine, sexy wine made with the finest fairy feet. It's good. It's sexy. It's escapism. The world building took some getting used to, but once accepted and the basic rules learned, it is quite a world to behold. It wasn't until well into the story I had an epiphany. This is what I was expecting with Shadow and Bone. Remember last year, almost an entire year ago now, I started the Shadow and Bone series with the hopes of finally enjoying the fantasy genre. Keyword being hope, because I actually didn't enjoy it as much as I had anticipated at all, which caused me to steer clear of fantasy for the time being, completely. That is, until now. I finally understand the hype. I'm hyped. It's porn. Fairy porn. I like it.
Same as furry.
Actually, he's like part beast. So
Don't turn into furry.
there's a little bit of furry porn. Pablo asked me a good question yesterday while trying to explain the story to him. I look like the guy with like things on the wall with the strings going from one way to another. You know what I'm talking about? When they're trying to explain a plot to someone. He asked, would you want to ask it? No. He asked, would you still like it if it didn't have all the smut? Yes, absolutely. The smut is a truly added bonus, but the story really does sell itself. The smut is nice. With much originality, while still harboring some similarities to that of Beauty and the Beast, I can tell why this fantasy world is so popular and a top choice for many people in fantastical fiction. It also takes the like calls to like that exact sentence from Shadow and Bone. It's in here, too. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Is that just a thing people say in fantasy books? Like calls to like? I don't know. I've heard briefly about some controversies revolving around Sarah J. Maas, but honestly, I'm trying to give these books an honest shot. But if anyone would like to explain why she's problematic, please do so in the comments below. I'm always up for a discussion. I read that her female characters are not empowered enough, even though, like, she's pretty badass. With that said, I would like to complete the series first before making a fully dedicated video, so stay tuned for that. Giving Fantasy a Second Chance. Sounds like a good title, don't you think? Let me know. I also annotated this book the same way I did The Shades of Magic, because it has to fit in a box set, so I put them on the side. They're hidden. The moment, what's his name? Reese comes in, he says, "There you are, I've been looking for you." I did that one just a little cheeky, just a little bit more out so I can remember when he comes in, because I like him. I like him. He has wings. All right, next, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Again, another book I was almost finished with as of filming last month's TBR, and one I already intend to put on my top list of 2022. Not only did it give me the warm tinglies, it also had a satisfyingly slow burn, like that of an expensive and cumbersome candle. You know, one of those chunky ones encased in glass with 3 wicks and the thick wooden top on the top that gives a satisfying when you pry it open. If this book had a scent, it would be summer rain. You know that smell of cool rain hitting warm concrete in the middle of the afternoon? When you have nothing left to do in your day but listen to the droplets hit the floor.
Sorry, when has it rained in the summer here?
I can use my imagination.
It only rains in the winter here.
We have sandstorms in the winter. As I was saying, when you have nothing left to do in your day but listen to the droplets hit the floor and marvel at the joy of simplicity. It would smell like that.
I think it would rain in the summer. It would smell like the apocalypse.
Oh, that's earthquake weather. When it rains in the heat. I don't know if that's true. That's something my father always said. This is earthquake weather. From friends to strangers to lovers, our 2 polar opposite main characters in this novel take a summer trip every year despite anything else that may be going on in their lives. This style of storytelling between the then and now allows the reader to continuously be engaged in the story, yearning to know more about the fallout and witness the saucy reunion. I don't know if that's a spoiler that it's saucy and that they're friends to strangers to lovers. That's a trope. That's what the trope is. Spoiler! This book had me laughing out loud at times and yelling at the fictional characters, talking in my mind, wondering why they don't see it. Why can't they just make it work? You'll just have to read and find out. People We Meet on Vacation is a contemporary romance filled with witty banter and dialogue, setups, payoffs, and just the right amount of satisfaction, so as not to be too overly indulgent. If you're having a bad day and just want to feel better, just want to feel like there's laughter and delight in the world, read this. All right, now for the sole disappointment in the reading month of January, Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazzarica. At least I can pronounce their name now. So, this one made me uncomfortable. And not in that, ooh, yes please, give me more type of discomfort. No, in the nauseous, claustrophobic, dry, heaving sounds discomfort that gives me the 2 a.m. shakes. I didn't like it. I actually got halfway through this book the first day I picked it up and decided to put it down for the entirety of reading People We Meet on Vacation. I thought it was going to be a DNF, but then, after getting over the initial disgust, I decided to stick it through the rest of the way. I binged it just for the gratitude of never having to read another second of it again. This is logic in my head. It wasn't particularly clever in its writing style. I didn't care much for the characters or their trials. I was never really interested in the plot. The introduction of this dystopian world where cannibalism has been capitalized as an ethical form of consumption was very obviously written by a vegan and relied heavily on shock value. While reading, I just remembered Paul's comment on Goodreads. Remember him? And although Emily was true in stating that the story is just, it's fiction, Paul, I still just couldn't enjoy it. Every detailed description of the farming, slaughtering, packaging, distribution, and consumption of human meat just seemed so ironically shoved down your throat with blatant shock and absurdity. I found myself gawking at the main character's story that was trying so desperately to be shoehorned into the overall plot. It is dark. Oh, plain. It is dark. Yes, but as much as I am a night person, I need a bit more meat to my stories. Moving on, Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. Not many books have made me cry in the past. Well, no, that's a lie. Some have made me fall apart. But that list is quite short. And this one makes the list. I know I use anxiety, depression, Xanax as punchlines to jokes here, but you know what they say. Jokes like that are funny. Why am I speaking like a robot? Jokes like that are funny because they're true. They come from some place of honesty. And this book, it speaks the truth. I took a different route in annotating this book in particular. I felt it needed its own system to fully appreciate a reread. So instead of just tabbing where a memorable line lay on the page, I decided to tab up top for quotes and in the middle for plot. I then decided to do something I've never done in a fiction book before. I used a highlighter. I know. I shocked Pablo when I scoured the house looking for just the right shade of yellow Sharpie highlighter. Is this sharp? It is Sharpie. Smear Guard Sharpie. I used this one. But I found it and I used it. Can you see the highlights? They're there. You can't read? How ironic! There were more memorable quotes and phrases to live by in this book than I have collected in my notes app on my phone. That's a lot. The first time I burst into tears was at the introduction of a certain character who found herself standing in a place I have also found my feet had taken me, and her name was Nadia. That's my name. I called my mom and sister then and there and read the passage to them as well, needing to share it with them, which launched a whole conversation that should be had frequently in families that include an anxious person or two. I am that person in my family. I am the two. I am all of them in one. Whether you yourself or Hello? I'm an anxious person. I'm gonna cry. Someone was coming in through the window. Whether you yourself are an anxious person or not, this book is important to read to understand the complexities of the people around you, and that you truly never know the wars we fight silently in our minds, just to smile and get through our workday. I'm gonna cry. Okay, so halfway through reading this one, Pablo reminded me that I was actually supposed to buddy read this with Emmy. You remember Emmy? I then texted her to remind her, and she purchased the book then to start reading it. But I also texted her today, and she said, it's here, but I haven't started yet. And I was like, I'm finished. Sorry. Emmy, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. We'll discuss it later together, but I just couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down. But I'm gonna put it down now because we're gonna talk about February TBR. I am well aware that February is the shortest month of the year. However, I am on such a reading roll lately, I can't help but be a little optimistic in the titles I intend to finish this month. First, we have Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I've seen this title pop up on Book Talk and Bookstagram for over a year now and finally decided to give it a try. Where the Crawdads Sing is a coming-of-age story that follows a young girl making a life for herself as an outcast, and the people and influences she meets along the way that inevitably shape her future. The story turns into a murder mystery with the young and beautiful Kaya as suspect number one. Ooh. It is said to discuss social issues of race, class, and unorthodox childhoods. When a child is left to fend for themselves, they may just turn to the earth as their mother. Next, we have Sputnik Sweetheart. I love alliteration. I haven't read a Murakami since November, and that was last year. And this little read, I anticipate, will be well received. Look at his face. Look at his face. As I had mentioned before, Murakami sometimes has the tendency to write too much. This short, sweet little story, I believe, will be just the right breakfast read I need on a day off. Whenever I get one of those. A love story with that whimsical Murakami elegance. Described as a subtle contemporary romance with hints of magical realism, I have high expectations I don't doubt will be met with this one. You honestly just can't go wrong with Murakami. I'm excited to seclude myself in my mind palace and just hallucinate, trip on the magical realism. Next, we have Girl Serpent Thorn by Melissa Bashardust. Okay, so this is another title I have been seeing for over a year now, marketed heavily as YA fantasy. And as I just explained a few minutes ago, I have been avoiding this particular genre for quite some time. But now, after accepting the basic bitch within me from enjoying Acotar, that's right, I used the acronym, Acotar, I want to give YA fantasy another shot. For the sheer reason behind Pablo's question, would I still enjoy it without the smut? I think yes. We shall see. I have also mentioned... No, this is YA fantasy. YA meaning young adult, meaning like PG-13. No smut. I have also mentioned in the past that I do judge books by their covers and their titles. This one excels in the beauty of both. Look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. Eye-catching. And the title, descriptive enough to intrigue interest without giving anything at all away. Girl, serpent, thorn. Man, woman, TV, camera. Girl Serpent Thorn tells the tale of a cursed princess poisoned to the touch, and her discovery of power behind the lies she's been fed. Now don't The wind needs to stop it scaring me. Not only am I excited to read this original fairy tale and enter yet another fantasy world, but I am also excited to read something set with Middle Eastern roots. Like, being familiar with the folklore and terminology, I anticipate reading something of a story my grandmother may have told me on a dark and stormy night before bed. Sometimes escapism brings us home. All right, and last on my list of TBR for the month of February, we have A Court of Mist and Fury, book 2 in the Acotar series. I feel, what's the word when you have the qualifications for something? Qualified. I feel qualified enough to use the acronym, Acotar. Acotar. I want to wait to read this one, just so I may savor it. I'm excited to see where Feyre finds herself next, how the other characters play their part after the fall of, well, I won't spoil anything for you if you haven't read it just yet, the first book. Just again, I get the hype. I'll be whooshing through all the aforementioned books just to get to this one. Will I have the self-control to actually read those first and wait? We shall see. My guess is no. All right, that's all I have for you lovely viewers today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Valentine's Day. I wore pink just for you. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe down below for weekly bookie videos. We have many things planned for this year, so stay tuned and be sure to click that bell to be notified when our next video goes up. Today's shout out goes to Kristen Poturalski. I see your many comments and I thank you for the constant support. You are so very right. It's the stories that leave us looking in the mirror long after, questioning our own reflections that reveal the truth about who we are. Now we must learn to recognize those stories as the lessons they bring forth and grow with every book we read. Alright, I'm off to go shamelessly look up Acotar fan art and try to avoid spoilers in the process, feeling like a teenager again as I change my phone background to my current fictitious boyfriend. Don't worry, Pablo. You'll always be my home screen. No.
What?
It's dirty.
Oh my God.
And that book is white. Stay lost, keep reading. Happy anniversary. Goodbye. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy Valentine's Day. I wore my pink blazer for Valentine's Day.